Hello, everybody. Welcome to Amar's Game Chat. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. I am Amar, and today the Pokemon Company aired a brand new Pokemon Presents. So I wanted to do just a little bit of a recap and talk about some of my thoughts post Pokemon Presents, just because there's so much to talk about and so much that they showed off, both in terms of the mobile games and multimedia projects and games like Pokemon Champions and Pokemon Legends CA. So I just want to talk a little bit more about those. I'll probably have a video out specifically on Legends CA, a part of the Lumiose dialogue slash datalog series that I started a little while ago. I haven't really done much episodes in those yet, but as we get closer to launch, I hope to do a little bit more in those. But yeah, I for the first time in a long time, I have gameplay footage as the background to this video, so I think that is very, very cool. But I just wanted to make this like a summary video, just talk about some of my thoughts on the Pokemon Presents. And yeah, so without further ado, my reaction is now up in case that is something that you're interested in watching. But without further ado, again, let us get right into it. So yeah, the Pokemon Presents aired. I thought it was pretty fun. It had a couple of cool announcements and a couple of new cool things that I did not really expect to see here, including the announcement of Mega and Dragonite, which is very cool. I expected to see a little bit more Megas in this Presents. I thought maybe they would show off maybe two or three. They showed off one, but Mega Dragonite is very, very cool. I know that is a Mega that a lot of people have been asking for a very long time, so I'm very happy to see it join the fray. Hopefully, we have Pokemon Worlds next month, so we'll definitely getting a Mega or maybe two Mega Evolution reveals there. We'll probably get Mega Evolutions leading up to the release of the game on October 16th, 2025. That probably includes, we'll probably see, now that we've only seen one Mega Evolution, I'm expecting maybe to see 4 to 5, maybe upwards of like close to 7 new Mega Evolutions before the game is officially released, which that's a little less than I thought they would have revealed before then, but it also depends on how much megas are actually in the game, like how many new megas. I guess that's something we'll have to wait and see until the game releases. But yeah, that is, that was probably the big reveal of this Presents. Just in general, I think that's what a lot of people are going to talk about, and that's why I'm making a specific video just on Pokemon Legends CA, because I don't want to spend too much time talking about Mega Dragonite, how cool it is, how I think it's a pretty cool design. It has the wings on, like, I think it's like on its head, which is very cool. It's like Dragonair, which is very awesome. And they even talk about it draws the inspiration that of Dragonair. It's finally addressing kind of the idea of how Dragonite becomes. How Dragonair becomes Dragonite after being Dratini, Dragonair, Dragonite. But yeah, besides Dragonite, which is again very, very cool, we also did get the reveal of a couple of new characters that they will be. Well, they're not necessarily new per se, but we got the reveal again of a couple of characters that will be playing probably pretty pivotal roles, I imagine, in the game itself. I'm going to try my best to find an article or two about them based on from the Pokemon website itself, but they look pretty cool. It was Mabel and Emma from Pokemon X and Y, seemingly at least. They didn't really make reference to them being in Pokemon X and Y, so their stories are definitely different, and they probably don't really want to say that because then that probably scares some people off that haven't played that game yet, that they obviously want to play Legends EA. But it seems like Emma and Mabel from X and Y are the two new main characters that they revealed here, which is very cool. They seemingly have very close designs to what we saw from those characters, just a lot older now, which kind of, in my opinion, and this is something we'll get into when it comes to the datalog and dialogue, they this definitely does confirm that the games at least do take place after X and Y. Maybe it's in a different universe or something like that, but they definitely do take place after X and Y, which is really awesome. I know there was a couple of like, maybe it doesn't, um, maybe it's like pre X and Y, before, maybe even before the war, um, the 3,000 year war, but it definitely does seem like it's after X and Y, which is very cool. But the other character we got a reveal of was Cornby, which is the boss of the Rust Syndicate, which seems to be like the not necessarily the evil team in the game. They probably are the evil team, but right now we just can't really say that. Right now I still think that let me put the pronunciation before I mess it up, but I do think that Quan Sartito, which is the organization we saw revealed in the first Pokemon Presents, I still think that probably is the evil organization, or just like some sort of maybe they're working with the Rust Syndicate, but again, we won't get too much into that. But we did get the reveal of the Rust Syndicate. We did get a reveal of our team, which is the M to Z team, which is very cool. I pointed out in my reaction, but pretty much M is right in the middle of the alphabet, so they do, like we're like in the middle team. Like we got A Z, A to Z, Z to A. Now we got M to Z. I think that's just kind of cool. But that is pretty much, just from a general point of view, that is pretty much all we saw from Legend ZA. And this presents, Mega Dragonite. We saw a couple of new characters. We got a little bit of a more in-depth look at our what we'll be doing. There's gonna be side quests that presumably are through the detective agency that Emma works at. She is the lead of that detective agency now. That kind of puts into question where is Looker now, but that's still very cool. And then we also would be working with Mabel. It seems like Mabel is our professor in the game. That's gonna be kind of interesting to see how Mabel has evolved since presumably the disbandment of Team Flare after what happens to Lysander in the game in X and Y. But so that's gonna be very interesting to see, and very interesting, I think, to to see how she evolves in this game. Maybe she still has some roots of Team Flare. Maybe she does work with the Rust Syndicate. Maybe they are evil. We'll have to see about that. But again, that is all we really saw here. In terms of this presents right now. Again, I think we're gonna see a lot more information at Pokemon Worlds and in the future, but we got the confirmation of things like customization, again Team MZ, which we will be a part of, which is very fun. And it seems like Team MZ at least is in some coordination with AZ, which is still, there's still a lot of story we have to learn about, a lot of story that I think we're probably gonna find out ourselves through the game. But yeah, that is pretty much that. They also, for Legends EA, they also did show off more about Pokemon Champions. We found out that there will be like it's not really a rental system. I thought there would be like a rental system on how you get like specific teams that you may want. Specific Pokemon that, due to possibly maybe not having those games, or maybe you're just coming over from Pokemon Go and you just want to jump straight into the more competitive side of Pokemon. I was trying to figure out like how they would approach that, because it is a mobile app, so you can't really expect everybody to have Pokemon, Scarlet and Violet, Pokemon Sword and Shield, Pokemon Legends EA, Pokemon Legends Arceus, stuff like that. You can't really expect them to have that if they're also going to put it out on mobile. So I'm glad to see that they are doing it to where like it's all in-game currency that's not paid. You can't purchase in-game currency, but you can purchase Pokemon that you can use on your teams, and you can use that same currency to also train up the Pokemon, their EVs, IVs, probably to help. I don't think it's probably gonna be with the attacks or anything, just because that would be putting a lot on the currency itself. But it's still very cool. I'm glad I got my answer to that question about if and how they will address the idea of what, for those that don't necessarily have the games, how they will get Pokemon. But besides that, the other major confirmation, in my opinion, was that this game will have doubles and singles. So, again, I know that was somewhat concern due to the competitive scene right now. It's all doubles. So I'm glad to see that. I may still be playing in doubles, but I'm glad to see that they're implementing singles, doubles. It would have been cool for them to implement triple battles like we saw in Black and White, or like rotation battles. But alas, maybe when the Black and White remakes come out, maybe then they'll add that to Pokemon Champions. But besides that, they also confirmed that there'll be 3 different modes. So ranked battles, which is probably like the more competitive, online casuals, which I'm assuming, I think they mentioned it there in the trailer and the press release, that online casuals is just basically online battles, like what we see in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and you know, pretty much and then the other mode, I can probably explain it better once I explain the other mode. The other mode is private battles, so you can play with your friends and family online. I was kind of hoping that they would also add something that we see in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Not Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Well, something we saw in Pokemon Battle Revolution, where you could connect your games to Pokemon, like a central hub for Pokemon champions, and then you could battle through that. Like you could battle on the DS. I believe like you could choose your attacks on the DS, and it would be used in Pokemon Battle Revolution. Obviously, we've evolved much farther beyond that we don't really need that kind of connectivity to be able to play the games on the TV. But still, I thought it would have been cool. That maybe they will still have a local mode where you can all connect, and then maybe one central hub will be able to display the game on the TV, and it'd be like more of like a more, I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see. But the private battles are between friends and family, at least seemingly right now, that are online, which is still very cool. It's very cool that we have 3 different modes. We don't have to necessarily play casual mode to play with our friends. We could do private battles. So I guess my main thing with this game now is it does seem like it is going to be at least something that's going to be to the like in conjunction with the mainline games. For me, I could definitely see it being something where it could become like the main competitive game for the Pokemon series. I think Game Freak and the Pokemon Works are involved in this game, so they're definitely, especially having Game Freak involved, it definitely shows that this is something that they intend to at least use, I think, in the future with competitive. We won't officially know or really know until we see games like Pokemon Generation 10 come out and see how that is used at like events like Pokemon Worlds, and what type of balance systems in those games. I'm assuming they, even with Pokemon Champions, they're not going to change Pokemon, like the Pokemon mainline games, that much in terms of their battling systems, at least like the generational games. Obviously, we're seeing that they are doing some experimentation with Legends games and Let's Go and stuff like that, but I still don't think they're going to change that much from I think we're still going to have a very similar system to what we've seen over the last 29 years in Pokemon Generation 10 and going in the future. But still, that is very cool. I could definitely see in like at Pokemon Worlds us having Generation 10 events and Pokemon Champions events. So I mentioned Pokemon Worlds a lot. I really got into Pokemon Worlds, last year, and over the last couple of months, since last year, I've really been watching the competitive, so it's just really fun just to watch it. I don't watch like every single match. I don't watch every single minute of it, but again, it's fun to keep up with it. It's not like it's just fun because it happens during like the weekends, so you're just able to sit down, maybe have in the background while you're doing something, and just see how the games are going. I think that's pretty cool. But besides that, those were probably the 2 major things that most people were looking for. But we did get other information for the Pokemon franchise in this Presents, which is normal. And honestly, I was actually kind of surprised that we got this much information in this presents focused on other things. I expected a lot of it to be on Pokemon Legends EA, but a lot of it was not. About 5 minutes for Legends EA, about 3 minutes for Champions, and then everything else was pretty much the mobile games, multimedia projects, a new game reveal, which is on both Switch and mobile, so it is a new game. But let me just pull it up. We're going to talk about the multimedia projects first, just because I think those are going to be easier to go through. We got the announcement of Pokemon Tales, The Misadventures of Sirfetch'd and Pikachu, which is a very interesting combo. We don't really see that very often when it comes to Pokemon combos, But it definitely seems like this game is also based in Galar, which it makes sense because the studio Artiman is also based in the United Kingdom, so it makes sense to have for them to be able to adapt Galar to a series like this. But it does look really cool. We are still over a year away from it releasing, at least, so we still have a lot to be shown of it. We still don't really know what the series structure will look like when it comes to how many episodes it may get, how many how long those episodes are, what the type of story we'll be seeing. We just really know it's probably gonna be based on Sirfetch'd and Pichu, and maybe some Wooloos pop up here and there, which is very cool. I'm definitely looking forward to watching it. I love these miniseries because when it comes to the anime, the main anime Horizons, and before that the Ash Ketchum saga, I loved those things, but it was always hard to keep up with them just for me personally, because back then, back in the mid 2000s, it wasn't the easiest to be able to watch the episodes, if you missed them the Saturday morning that they aired. Now it's obviously a lot easier to do that, but that was for me, that's kind of where I think I would have really fallen into the anime if I was able to keep up with episodes. Whenever I could watch an episode, I would, and I was able to keep up with those episodes on Cerebi and stuff like that. But these shorter series, they're on YouTube, they're on Pokemon Concierge, which was the other major project in this sense that showed up in this presents. I love Pokemon Concierge. It's very short, and it's also all on Netflix, so I'm able to watch it. And so it's just easier for me to keep up in that way. But we didn't really see anything from Pokemon Horizons in this presents, which I don't really know if I was expecting to see things from Pokemon Horizons, but we didn't. Instead, we got Sirfetch'd and Pichu, and a new trailer for Pokemon Concierge Season 2, which, again, I'm really looking forward to. It comes out on September 4th, which is not that far away. We are just over a month away from that release, so that's going to be very fun to see once it happens. But again, it looks very cool. Concierge, again, is I love the series. It's very fun just to sit down. Again, I think the first season was just around an hour, maybe even a little less. So I'm assuming the season will be around that same point. It's only 4 episodes. We haven't really got the confirmation on how many episodes are in this season, but I'm assuming around 4 episodes. It looks really cool. We're gonna meet some new characters. They already showed off in the trailer. Maybe we meet the ex of the main character in Pokemon Concierge. I can't remember the name right now, but it's just gonna be really cool. Concierge, I really love it, so I'm very excited for it. I'm just very excited to see more Pokemon Concierge later this year. The other 2 or so multimedia or wider non-gaming necessarily announcements that we got was for Pokemon Worlds 2025. Obviously, we had known about Pokemon Worlds 2025 pretty much since for the last couple of years. We've had Worlds every year, but they revealed a new promo that they'll be giving out. I'm assuming, though it is possible that this promo is also something you can get by buying an item off the Pokemon Center. They do that a lot. They give out promo cards for buying certain items, or not buying certain items, but reaching a certain price on the Pokemon Center website. You're able to put a promo code in, and you get the promo card. So I'm assuming if you go to Worlds, you'll be able to get it, but they also have that option if you buy on Pokemon Center during a certain period of time. But they also said that they will be distributing a code to everyone at Pokemon Worlds where you can get a special Toad School. I'm assuming it's a special digital code. Um, so that's very cool. That's very cool. I I think the Toad School is exclusive to those at Pokemon Worlds, but I'm not necessarily sure. They could do it to where if you're at World and you have your Switch or your Switch 2, then you can get like a special mystery gift that you just put in um at like when you're in that certain like what they did with the old Pokemon events in like generation 3, 4, 5 and like I guess it was also generation 2 and 1 to a certain extent, but um where you had to like go to a certain store and you get like a specific Pokemon event through that. I guess they could do that here as well, though I'm not necessarily sure that's what they're gonna do. It says they're gonna be distributing a special code. I'm assuming that's what they're gonna do. And I don't. I guess it's gonna be like a special code like that's exclusive, but also I guess at the same time it's very possible that that code gets out if it's just a one general code. So I'm interested to see how they do that. But then they also just ended it off by saying there's gonna be multiple surprises at Worlds for those that are watching. So I'm assuming some of that's in like we're probably gonna be seeing Pokemon events happen throughout the weekend, but we'll probably also that's probably also talking about what's going to be happening at the Pokemon World Championships in terms of the closing ceremony. They normally have trailers for games and the Pokemon TCG and stuff like that. I'm expecting to see that there as well. The final major multimedia thing was Pokepark Kanto. I believe this was announced beforehand. Like I believe this has been in the works for a very long time now, but it does look very cool. You know, it's somewhere I would love to go to. It doesn't seem like it's obviously probably not a one-to-one remake of the whole Kanto region that you can explore, but it looks very, very cool. You know, I would love again to be there. I hope that maybe, obviously, we're probably like 2 decades away from this, but maybe we can get this like in every single region. So obviously, Japan has Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, and Sinnoh. So you know, Japan gets those for amusement parks. The U.S. gets Unova and Alola because that's based in New York and Hawaii, and then the other regions in Europe being Kalos, Galar, and Paldea, those get their own in those regions as well. So, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're probably going to focus a lot of it just maybe on the original 4 that are in Japan, based in Japan. But still, I think that'd be kind of cool. I would love to go there, you know, in the future and just explore Pokepark Kanto. I think that'd be really fun. But besides that, we just got a couple of tidbits on the mobile game side and just like the games in general. So I'll go through those pretty fast because they're not like super substantial announcements. I'll save the new game announcement to the end, but we did get Pokemon TCG. We got a new look at the Pokemon TCG. In this Pokemon Presents, it looks really cool. We didn't get anything on Pokemon TCG Pocket, which is kind of interesting because I'm not as caught up to this like what sets and what's the news on Pokemon TCG Pocket right now. But I believe there was a certain expectation that they would be revealing a new set here, just because we're in like that certain range where the new sets would be revealed. So that's kind of interesting just not to see it, but it's not like a huge thing. You know, we'll probably see TCG Pocket, if not like in the next like week or so. In terms of like if a new set is supposed to be revealed, they'll probably reveal it on social media, and it's probably still going to get a lot of eyes on it, even without being in a presence. But even without that, we'll probably see it at Pokemon Worlds if there's nothing before Pokemon Worlds. The new set looks really good. I honestly hadn't seen the Mega Evolution set before. I've seen it before, but I hadn't really seen many cards of it before. But I really just love the way it looks. You know, we have the entire Bulbasaur evolution line, and it all like connects into like one specific one artwork, which is really awesome. We also saw Mega Gardevoir, Mega Lucario, Mega Kangaskhan cards. Those look really cool too. You know, I'm hoping I can get some packs for this because it just looked really awesome. I'm still trying to get Pokemon Black Volt, I believe, for Black Bolt, and white flare Pokemon cards. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see if I'm able to find some Mega Evolution packs. I'm really hoping. Same thing with Pokemon, the Pokemon Generation 5 set. But besides that, then we basically just got game news. We got a confirmation of the Ruinous 4 will be getting a Ruinous, yeah, the Ruinous 4, that's what I call them. But the Ruinous 4 Pokemon, they will be in mass outbreaks. I believe for like 2 weeks each. I'll put on the screen right now what is the schedule, just because I don't have the schedule at hand, but those are the 4. And the cool thing with them is I believe it's each Pokemon, so I don't think we have to do like a million per each. I mean, million just in general. I think it's per Pokemon over those 2 weeks, but you can't catch them. They are shiny, but you can't catch them until we've, as a community, defeated a million each. Not a million each, but a million just in general. So I think that's cool. We've seen that they do that with like Zeraora and Mewtwo and a couple of like the legendaries that they've introduced through raids in the past. So I think that's pretty cool. But they are shiny, so we will be able to get shiny Ruinous Pokemon in the near future, which is very awesome. With Wu Chen beginning tonight. So if you're seeing this video before and you did not know that, you can log into probably Pokemon Scarlet Violet very, very soon. If I believe this before it starts, or after, right now, and get and battle your Wu Chen, and then hopefully get enough before August 3rd to get a shiny version of it. And then on Pokemon Go, we pretty much already knew that Aternus was being added to the game, but we got the confirmation again. Aternus will be a major event in Pokemon Go, so that's very fun. They teased it at the end of Pokemon Go Fest, so it's not necessarily like something was like a surprise or anything, but still, we've been seeing a lot of Gigantamaxing in Pokemon Go, so it's very cool. There's not really much more for me to say on that end. I will try my best to get involved during August 23rd and August 24th in this event, but it looks really cool. And Pokemon Go, it looks very fun. And then Pokemon Masters EX, they confirmed that Carmine and Sinistra will be a sync pair, which is very cool. I'm glad that they're adding. I think they've already added a couple of sync players from Generation 9, but it's very cool that they're still doing that. Not that they're still doing that, but that they're continuing to add more Generation 9 sync pairs to the game. At a certain point, we're going to be talking about Generation 10 sync pairs. Possibly not next Pokemon Presents for Pokemon Day, but maybe the Pokemon Presents after that, Pokemon Presents on Pokemon Day in 2027, which is very, very fun and very interesting. But we do have a couple more games before we even get to the final game. We have Pokemon Unite, which is adding. We already added Latios. Now we're getting Latias, and they confirmed that Palmont will be, and Palmont's evolution line will be available in Pokemon Unite in the near future. I'm thinking that they'll probably announce the release date if it's not a shadow drop at Pokemon Worlds, just because I think that makes sense. That's probably gonna be their big announcement at Pokemon Worlds for the game, and maybe another 1 or 2 other Pokemon. And they confirmed that Electro Volleyball will be available to play now. I will try. Maybe I might log into Pokemon Unite just to try it out, but I'll try it out again because I did try it out when it was released. But it looks really cool. The update looks really cool. I'm excited to watch at least some others play the game. We also got a news for Pokemon Sleep. They confirmed that September will be a big month in Pokemon Go, with Raikou, Entei, and Suicune having their own research events launch in the game. Not each of their own, but a research event with all 3 of them involved, which is very cool. I believe maybe they've all had separate research events, because I remember Raikou, I think, was in Pokemon Sleep either the year launch or last year. And then they also confirmed that they'll be adding a new area called the Amber Canyon in November that we can play in. I'm going to try my best to get back into Pokemon Sleep. I got to find my Pokemon Go Plus, but yeah, I will try my best to get into it again. And finally, we have Pokemon Cafe Remix. It's just another update. It seems like they're doing a little. They're having a little more fun with the game now. It seems like it takes place on a pirate ship now. We're not at a cafe anymore. We're building a cafe on a pirate ship, and the Pokemon that they introduced are like have costumes that are based around that, which is very very fun. Lapras. We got like a pirate Totodile. It's just very cool. But finally, I've been talking a lot. I gotta record a little bit more footage now for the background, but which hopefully you all did not notice. You do not notice a cut in the footage in that sense. But the last and probably like the major new announcement in this presents was Pokemon Friends, which is an iOS, Android, and Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 game. I've been playing it, and you saw actually, you know what? I might actually switch them around. I might put the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet gameplay first, and then the Pokemon Friends gameplay towards the end, because that's what you're watching. That's what you watched a little bit. I bought the game. It is a $10 game, and I've just been playing around, and it's really fun. I've seen somewhere that there's like 1,700 puzzles, or 1,200 or 1,700 puzzles, which is really awesome. That's a lot of puzzles to go through. And I'm it's something that I don't know if I mentioned it in the predictions video, but I expected if they were to announce a new game, it would be like one like this where you can just pop in and maybe not play like for like an hour or so, maybe like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you do a couple puzzles, you pop out, maybe you build a Pokemon plush, something like that. But it is really cool. The game is really fun. I'm gonna probably continue to play it because it's just that fun. And maybe I'll talk a little bit more about it in the future. Obviously when we get to the next Pokemon Presents in February, I will probably have predictions that will include a new update for Pokemon Friends. But yeah, that is all I really have for you all today. The Pokemon Presents was really fun. Obviously, it's kind of hard to balance out. I do a lot of reactions to Pokemon. I mean, not Pokemon. Nintendo Directs on this channel as well, and obviously those are a lot more focused. They have a little bit more weight in their announcements. Like we get obviously new Nintendo games announced there, but still, this is we got a new game technically announced here, which is really fun, Pokemon Friends. But I think that's something like obviously, and I mentioned this a lot in my predictions video. This is like normally the smaller presents of the year. Normally we get like the February presents is normally the bigger one. We get the major game announcements there, and then obviously here we get like something a little bit smaller, like Pokemon Friends. We obviously get more in-depth looks at Pokemon Champions, stuff like that, the new mainline game for that year, stuff like that. But I thought it was really fun. It was really fun presents to watch, and just talk through. My reaction will be linked in the description below. But yeah, it was really fun. I like Pokemon Presents. They're just a little more laid back. You're just able to just think about what they're showing and everything. But yeah, that is all I have for you all today. I was rambling on a little bit at the end, but that's all I have for you all today. I hope you all enjoyed the Pokemon Presents. I hope you all enjoy, seeing Mega Dragonite. And if you all are playing Pokemon Friends, I hope you all are enjoying that as well. And yeah, without further ado, I hope you all do what makes you happy, because that rhymes with my former name, Generic Happy. And I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. We're going back to Lumios. We're going back to Lumios.